The Galactic Assembly Hall buzzed with nervous energy as species from across the known galaxy gathered in emergency session. Ambassador Zeth of the peaceful Kithara stood at the central podium, his crystalline features reflecting the chamber's dim lighting. For 3 months, no word had come from the outer rim colonies of Nexus Prime. "The last transmission came from Governor Miles of the human settlement," Zeth announced, his voice carrying across the vast chamber. The recording crackled to life, showing a tired human face streaked with dirt and desperation. "Unknown vessels have entered our system. They're not responding to any communication attempts. Our defense grid is failing. We're preparing to evacuate the civilian populations." Council member Vexis, a tall reptilian being with scales that shifted color with emotion, rose from his seat. "That was 97 standard days ago. Our fastest ships would take 6 weeks to reach them." The chamber erupted in worried chittering and concerned growls from various species. Admiral Corvin of the Stellar Defense Coalition stepped forward, his mechanical augmentations gleaming under the assembly lights. "We dispatched 3 reconnaissance fleets. All contact was lost upon entering the Nexus system. Whatever destroyed the colonies has eliminated our most advanced warships without a trace." The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembly. The Stellar Defense Coalition commanded the galaxy's most sophisticated military technology. If their fleets had been neutralized so easily, what hope remained for anyone else? "There is one option we haven't considered," spoke a voice from the rear of the chamber. General Marcus Stone, Earth's military representative, stepped into the light. His presence immediately changed the atmosphere. Humans had been restricted to their home system for decades after their violent history became known to the galaxy. "Absolutely not," Vexis hissed, his scales turning deep red. "The quarantine protocols exist for good reasons. Humans are from a deathworld. Everything on their planet evolved to kill. They fought more wars than the rest of us combined." Stone remained calm, his weathered face showing years of military service. "Which is exactly why we might succeed where your peaceful fleets have failed. We understand violence in ways you cannot comprehend. While you build ships for exploration and trade, we build them for war." Ambassador Zeth considered the proposal carefully. The missing colonies contained over 2 million beings from dozens of species, children, families, scientists, and artists, all potentially lost to whatever lurked in the Nexus system. "What would you require from us?" Zeth asked hesitantly. Stone's expression hardened. "Nothing except your promise not to interfere. We handle this our way, with our ships, our weapons, and our methods. No restrictions, no oversight, no rules of engagement except those we choose." The chamber fell silent as the weight of unleashing humanity upon an unknown threat settled over them. They were about to discover what happened when Deathworlders went to war. Captain Victoria Cross stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, Earth's most formidable dreadnought, watching her home planet shrink in the viewscreen. At 45, she had commanded vessels through the Belt Wars and the Martian Uprising, but this would be humanity's first military action beyond their solar system. "Fleet status report," Cross ordered, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had earned respect through blood and victory. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, her tactical officer, consulted his displays. "All vessels reporting ready for hyperspace jump. The strike group consists of the Dreadnought Vengeance, heavy cruisers Defiance and Retribution, destroyers Lightning and Thunder, and the experimental stealth ship Phantom." Cross nodded, studying the tactical readouts. Unlike the elegant curves and peaceful designs of galactic vessels, human ships were built like weapons themselves. Angular, armored, and bristling with enough firepower to level continents. Every surface served a purpose, every system designed for maximum lethality. "What about the Marines?" Cross asked. Colonel Derek Reeves stepped forward, his scarred face testament to countless battles in Earth's harsh environments. 3,000 combat-ready Marines equipped with powered armor and adaptive weapon systems. We've analyzed the limited data from the lost fleets and prepared for biological, energy, and conventional threats. The human fleet was small compared to galactic standards, but it represented 50 years of military evolution on a planet where warfare was an art form. Every soldier had trained in environments that would kill most galactic species within minutes. Every weapon had been tested in conflicts that pushed human ingenuity to its limits. Intelligence briefing, cross-commanded. Dr. Emily Watson, their xenobiologist and tactical analyst, activated the holographic display. Based on the pattern of attacks, we're dealing with something that can neutralize advanced technology without conventional weapon signatures. The enemy leaves no debris, takes no prisoners, and shows no interest in communication. Suggestions? Cross asked. Watson's expression grew grim. Whatever destroyed those fleets did so completely. No distress. Calls, no battle damage reports, nothing. They either faced overwhelming force or something that bypassed their defenses entirely. Reeves crossed his arms, his mechanical prosthetic arm gleaming in the bridge lighting. My Marines are prepared for both scenarios. If it's overwhelming, force will match it. If it's something exotic, we'll adapt. That's what humans do. Cross walked to the forward viewport, gazing at the stars that held unknown threats. The galaxy has spent decades afraid of what we might do if we were unleashed. Today, they'll find out. The communications officer interrupted. Captain, we're receiving final authorization from Earth Command. Admiral Hayes sends his regards and reminds us that the eyes of humanity are upon us. Cross smiled coldly. Tell the Admiral that when we return, the galaxy will know why Earth is called a death world. All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump. The human fleet vanished into the void, carrying with it the hopes of millions and the fury of a species that had never learned to surrender. In the Nexus system, something ancient and terrible waited, unaware that it was about to face the children of a world where only the strongest survived. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Nexus system, and what they found defied every expectation. Where thriving colonies should have existed, space itself seemed wrong. Dark tendrils of energy stretched between the planets like a spider's web, pulsing with malevolent intelligence. "Sweet mother of Mars," whispered Morrison from his tactical station. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the system, but they're not matching any known technology." Cross studied the sensor readings with growing unease. "Where are the colonies?" "Still there, ma'am, but—" Morrison's voice trailed off as the main screen adjusted focus. The human settlements were intact, but surrounded by massive crystalline structures that hadn't been there before. The crystals pulsed with the same dark energy as the spaceborne tendrils. Dr. Watson was running deep scans from her science station. "Captain, I'm detecting approximately 2 million life signs within those crystal formations. They appear to be in some form of suspended animation." "The missing colonists," Cross realized. "What about the defense fleets?" "No wreckage, no debris fields," Watson reported. "But I am detecting metallic compounds integrated into the crystal matrix." "The ships weren't destroyed, they were absorbed." Colonel Reeves joined them on the bridge, his expression grim. "So we're dealing with something that can trap entire fleets and populations. Any idea what we're up against?" Before anyone could answer, the space around them began to change. The dark tendrils started moving, converging on the human fleet's position. As they drew closer, the bridge crew could see they weren't just energy. They were alive, writhing with alien intelligence. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Cross ordered. "Raise shields, prepare weapons." The tendrils struck the Vengeance first, wrapping around the hull like serpents. Immediately, the ship's systems began failing. Lights flickered, gravity generators stuttered, and the bridge filled with alarm signals. "They're trying to interface with our computers," Morrison reported. fighting to keep his console online. Some kind of digital infection, attempting to take control. Cross grabbed the ship's intercom. All hands switch to manual controls. Disconnect all automated systems. We're going old school. This was where humanity's violent history became an advantage. While other species had developed increasingly sophisticated automated systems, humans had learned never to trust anything they couldn't control directly. Every human ship maintained manual backups for critical systems. The Phantom, their stealth destroyer, suddenly decloaked directly behind one of the larger crystal formations. Captain Lisa Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm. "Vengeance. This is Phantom. We've been scanning the enemy while cloaked. These things are some kind of collective intelligence, like a galactic parasite that absorbs other life forms." "Can you break through to the colonies?" Cross asked. "Negative. The crystals are too heavily shielded." "But Captain, there's something else. I'm detecting massive movement in the outer system. More of these things are coming, hundreds of them." Cross felt her blood run cold. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. It was potentially humanity's first battle for survival against a threat that could consume entire civilizations. "All ships form defensive positions around Nexus Prime," she commanded. "Marines, prepare for planetary assault. We're going to get our people back." "Ma'am," Morrison called out, "the tendrils are retreating. I think they're regrouping for a larger attack." Cross smiled grimly. "Then they're about to learn why humans don't stay quarantined by choice. We stay isolated because the galaxy asked us to. Today, they'll remember why." The battle for Nexus Prime began with silence, then erupted into chaos that would be remembered. Across the galaxy, for generations, the crystalline parasites launched their assault with confidence, having absorbed dozens of peaceful fleets without resistance. They had never faced deathworlders before. Captain Cross watched as hundreds of dark tendrils surged toward her fleet. "All ships, weapons free. Show them what Earth builds when we're angry." The human response was immediate and devastating. Railguns fired solid projectiles at significant fractions of light speed, tearing through the alien formations. Nuclear-tipped torpedoes detonated in brilliant flashes, vaporizing entire sections of the parasite web. Energy weapons that other species considered too dangerous for regular use painted space with lethal light. But the parasites adapted quickly. The tendrils began weaving defensive patterns, absorbing the energy weapons and deflecting the kinetic rounds. Worse, they started learning from each attack, developing countermeasures in real time. "They're evolving their defenses," Watson reported from her station. "Each wave is more resistant to our weapons than the last." Colonel Reeves grinned savagely. "Then we'll evolve faster. Morrison, target the crystal formations on the planet. If we can't break their space forces, we'll cut off their power source." The Vengeance's main guns rotated toward Nexus Prime, charging for a full power strike. But as they prepared to fire, something unexpected happened. The crystals began to pulse faster, and suddenly the trapped colonists became visible within. The formations. "They're using the prisoners as human shields," Cross realized with horror. "If we fire on the crystals, we kill everyone we came to save." This was the parasite's greatest mistake. They had studied peaceful species who would sacrifice themselves rather than harm innocents. They didn't understand that humans had spent millennia learning to fight dirty, to find the impossible solution, to never accept defeat. "Phantom, Rodriguez, can you get close enough for a precision strike?" Cross asked. "Already on it, Captain," came the reply. The stealth ship reappeared directly above the planet's surface, so close to the crystals that the parasites couldn't target it without risking their prisoners. Beginning surgical strikes on the crystal matrix joints. Meanwhile, Reeves was implementing the most audacious part of the human plan. "Drop pods launching now," he announced. 3,000 Marines heading for the surface. The galaxy watched in amazement as human warriors launched themselves directly at the alien formations. Their powered armor allowed them to survive impacts that would have killed any other species, and their weapons were designed to function in any environment. Dr. Watson made a crucial discovery as the battle raged. "Captain, I've isolated the parasite's control frequency. They're using a form of quantum entanglement to coordinate their actions. If we can disrupt it, do it," Cross ordered. Watson activated humanity's most secret weapon, a quantum disruptor developed during Earth's darkest wars. The effect was immediate and catastrophic for the parasites. Their coordinated movements became chaotic, their defenses collapsed, and their absorption abilities failed. On the planet's surface, Reeves and his Marines were cutting through the crystal formations with precision explosives, freeing groups of colonists and loading them onto evacuation shuttles. The parasites, no longer able to coordinate their response, found themselves facing 3,000 of humanity's finest warriors in close combat. It was no contest. Humans had evolved on a world where everything tried to kill them. These Marines had trained in environments that would have been lethal to most galactic species. The parasites, for all their technological superiority, had never learned to fight like deathworlders. "All colonists secured," Reeves reported. "The crystals are collapsing. Whatever these things were, they're finished." Captain Cross looked at the tactical display showing the scattered remains of the parasite fleet. "All ships form up for return to Earth. Mission accomplished. But this victory would have consequences none of them could foresee. The galaxy had asked for humanity's help, and they had received it. Now they would have to live with what they had unleashed." 6 months after the Battle of Nexus Prime, Ambassador Zeth stood once again before the Galactic Assembly, but the chamber felt different now. Where once there had been casual dismissal of human capabilities, now there was careful respect, mixed with barely concealed fear. Captain Cross, now promoted to Admiral, sat in the human delegation section, wearing the new insignia of the Terran Defense Force. The rescued colonists had returned with stories that spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Humans had done what the combined might of dozens of species could not accomplish. "The Nexus incident has raised important questions about galactic security," Zeth began, his crystalline features reflecting the Assembly's nervous energy. "The parasitic entities that attacked our colonies represent a threat we were unprepared to face." Council member Vexis, his scales still shifting to angry reds whenever he looked toward the human section, spoke next. "The quarantine protocols were established for good reasons. Now that humans have demonstrated their military capabilities, perhaps it's time to discuss new restrictions." General Stone rose from his seat, and the chamber fell silent. Over the past months, he had become one of the most feared voices in galactic politics. "Restrictions," he said quietly. "You asked for our help. We provided it. Now you want to cage us again because we were too effective?" Admiral Cross stood beside him. "The Nexus parasites were just the beginning. Our deep space sensors have detected similar energy signatures in 14 other systems. The galaxy faces threats that your peaceful fleets cannot handle." Dr. Watson, now serving as Earth's chief xenobiologist, activated a holographic display showing the scan results. "These entities appear to be scouts for something much larger. We estimate you have perhaps 2 years before the main force arrives." The Assembly erupted in panic. Hundreds of species began talking at once, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of fear and desperation. Stone waited for quiet, then spoke with the authority of someone who had seen humanity rise from a single world to challenge the galaxy. "Earth is prepared to defend not just human colonies, but any species that requests our protection. However, we will do so as equals, not as your quarantined attack dogs." "What are you proposing?" Zeth asked, though he already knew the answer. Cross smiled, but there was no warmth in it. The Terran Empire is prepared to offer membership to any species that desires mutual defense and trade agreements. We will share our military technology, our tactical expertise, and our protection. In return, we expect full diplomatic recognition and an end to the quarantine protocols. The chamber exploded in arguments. Some species saw the wisdom in allying with humanity's military might. Others feared that accepting human protection would eventually lead to human domination. Vexis hissed angrily. This is exactly what we feared would happen. Give humans an inch of freedom, and they'll take the entire galaxy. Colonel Reeves, now commanding the Terran Marine Corps, stood slowly. His scarred face and mechanical arm were testament to countless battles fought in humanity's name. You're wrong, he said simply. We don't want to conquer you. We want to protect you. There's a difference. But you're willing to fight for that protection, another delegate observed, against threats like the Nexus parasites. Absolutely, Cross replied. The galaxy has been peaceful for so long that you've forgotten how to face real enemies. We never had that luxury. Over the following weeks, the votes came in. 17 species requested immediate membership in the Terran Empire. 28 more signed mutual defense pacts. The human fleet, now officially redesignated as the Imperial Navy, began establishing bases throughout friendly systems. Admiral Cross stood on the bridge of her new flagship, the Imperator, watching. Construction crews building humanity's first orbital fortress around an alien world. Dr. Watson joined her at the viewport. Second thoughts? Watson asked. Cross shook her head. We didn't ask for this responsibility, but when the galaxy called for help, we answered. Now we'll make sure no one else faces extinction alone. In the depths of space, ancient sensors detected the expanding human presence. Something vast and hungry began to stir, drawn by the scent of a species that refused to surrender. The real test of humanity's resolve was yet to come. The galaxy had watched as deathworlders answered a distress call. Now they would see what happened when deathworlders decided to stay.